Welcome to LegacyCast, your source for hearing from top influencers and industry experts and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is LegacyCast. Welcome, LegacyCast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, welcoming you to the program today. And I have a lovely guest with me today, Darlene Corbett. She is a motivational speaker and also is an author with a book that's slated to come out a little bit later this year. So I certainly want to hear about a little bit about that as well during the program. But with the program here, we obviously we talk a lot about legacy and what it means to people. And granted, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And that's why we had the program here, is because we want to be able to find out what other people think about it and what they're doing in their lives, that are going to be building on something that's bigger than themselves. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome Darlene into the program this morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Darlene.
Hi, how are you?
And Darlene was telling me before we came on the program, she's in the New England area of our country, which is a lovely, beautiful side of the country, especially this time of year as we're heading into fall. And it's a place that all of us Southerners, envy, being able to see color, because everything goes from green to brown here pretty much overnight. And they have shades of yellow and green and gold and all sorts of shades in between, which, we don't get a whole lot of that, in our area. But I certainly love that part of the country there. Specifically, what part of New England are you in?
Yes, I live in central Massachusetts, and a lot of my work is in eastern Mass. So I have an office where I still am a therapist about 20 miles southwest of Boston, but I live about 5 minutes outside of Worcester, which is the second largest city in Massachusetts.
Right. Excellent. And so you were mentioning your book just before we came on, and if you can give us the title of that and then tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So my book is called Stop Depriving the World of You, A Guide for Getting Unstuck, and it's being published by Sound Wisdom in November. And I always wanted to write a book, but I didn't have a plan to writing a book. I was a therapist for most of my life. I still am a therapist, and I decided to venture into the speaking world. It's a long story, but to make a long story short, I decided I need to write also. So I started writing blogs and articles, and then I started to write a newsletter. And my newsletter came in front of the desk of an administrative assistant of a publishing company. I actually asked her if she wouldn't mind if I sent her my newsletter, not thinking much about it. And I did, and she looked at my articles and blogs I'd been written for the last couple of years on LinkedIn and my website and the contributors blog of the Huffington Post, which nobody finds unless, well, it's no longer there, but unless you're promoted, but it was there. And she said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, yeah, someday, but someday is coming soon. So I thought, well, yeah, but she said, well, I would like to show your articles and blogs to the publisher. And I don't know if he'll agree with me. She said, but if he does, I'd like to introduce you. And so he did, and we had an introduction. And we spoke the day before my keynote video event was coming out. And I told him about it. He said, many people write their books based on that. And he said, I told him that I often say to clients, and I say in the keynote, stop depriving the world of you. And he said, there's your title. I said, you're right. And thus I started writing the book and created it and sent it to him, and here it is now.
Outstanding.
Yes.
A lot of us, feel like we have a book inside of us, but we're afraid to put it out there. So certainly kudos for getting that out there and putting it into the world so that other people can be able to learn and glean information from it.
Thank you.
We look forward to getting copies of that. So with the topic of legacy, though, Darlene, what does that mean to you specifically? When you're thinking about legacy, does that have a particular meaning that you think about, or what comes to mind first?
Sure. Legacy, well, because I'm a helper, I've been in a helping profession for years. I want always to hope I leave this world that I gave the best I can. I gave back in the best way I can. And being in the helping profession is most gratifying. I tell people it's really part of my legacy because it's not a profession, really. You can call it a professional identity, but it's really a calling. I think that people that go into the helping profession and listen and sit with all kinds of secrets, I call us the keeper of secrets, and really, really let people know that they're being heard and help them heal from some of the hurts of the past, that I hope I'm doing the best I can. Am I perfect? No. But that's my legacy. I have a lot of energy. I've been blessed with very good health, and I want to be able to give back in that way. And now take it to the next level of doing it with a book and doing it on the larger stage, and just always keeping in mind that it's not about me, it's about people. It's about who I'm giving to and hoping for the best for all of them.
Oh, beautiful. So do you feel like it's an important thing that everyone consider what they're doing on a daily basis, either both on their personal lives and their business lives, to do things that are going to impact their legacy?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would say, well, why should I do that? But I think more people would rather do that. And I do. I think you feel better. I mean, I think the research even shows that people that help others feel better. But I also think it's incumbent upon us, if we are given a lot, that quote from the book of Luke, whether people are religious or not, that to those who much is given, much is expected. And I really believe living that way. I believe that. And I think there's as much unfairness in the world. We know that. We know that. So what can you do to overcome that? Is to push through and try to live your life in a way that gives you meaning and purpose at whatever stage you are in life. And then help it, because if you do that, somehow I really believe it goes out to the universe, and by you doing that may get someone else to think, wow, if they can do that, I can do that. Maybe I can have a better life. It all kind of reverberates.
Sure. And it's, I guess, kind of like the people that will pay it forward at the grocery store, for example. When they're in the checkout line, you see somebody behind you, and you take care of part of their bill.
Yes.
And it's kind of a similar state there, that
yes.
You're doing something positive, and it just keeps resonating and keeps resonating.
Yes.
Or in the coffee line, the drive-through coffee shops, for the people that do that, pay for the person behind you, and then that kind of continues. Those are always fun stories to hear about.
Well, could I share a quick story with you about it now that you say
Sure.
that? I was in the grocery line one day, and I bought some vanilla Diet Coke. I know it's not healthy for you, but once in a while I like to get it. And they didn't have, I must have got the wrong amount. She said, and it was a substantial amount. And she said, why don't you go get more? I said, no, forget it. I'll come back another time. And this lovely gentleman behind me said, I'll go get it for you. And I said, you don't have to do that. He says, I want to do that. So I said, let me go with you. We went together. He brought the cartons with me, and I kept thanking him. He said, why? What are you thanking me? I said, because it's such a thoughtful gesture. We're all in a hurry. And then he offered to go and help me take them out. I said, no, that's okay. I'm all set. But I won't forget that, because it's an act that he didn't have to do. I could have just left. He could have got out sooner, and that's that.
Yeah, and in today's society, it's so rare, that, and we should see more of that. And unfortunately, we don't see enough. And hopefully, programs like this one, and then other people talking, about stories, like what you're talking about there, are going to help, kind of pass that a little bit more, and it can start to multiply, because that really is needed in this world, that we stop being so selfish, as a society, and being so instant gratification, and looking at a bigger picture of more of the humanity, and more putting more good out there.
Yes.
So how do your views on legacy and your plans affect what you do in your business?
Well, one of the things is that I want to be able to I often try to give back a charity. Right now, having a business, running a new business, it's a little bit tight, but everybody has a story, but in any event, I like to think about ways to be able to someday, when I generate more income, is be able to give it out, to give out more. I love to give and be able to have an ability, because money's not the only way, obviously. I gave you that example of that gentleman but behind me, but money certainly can have an influence, and to be able to influence and help people in ways that they can't do at the moment. So I would like to be able to someday do that. And my husband agrees with me. We both want to be able to give more. And I'm hoping that with my energies, not just give emotionally or have impact, but someday be able to leave something in a way that helps somebody else be able to go and develop themselves.
Sure. That sounds very good. Very good. So as a CEO of your business in the entrepreneurial space, what would be a couple of things maybe that are keeping you up at night? Are there a couple of things for you that you still worry about in business?
Sure. Yeah. So, it's always a risk to be entrepreneurial. I did it years ago in the late 80s when I became a therapist, a self-employed therapist. And it took a few years. And then I met my husband. I moved to another city and I had to basically start all over again. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like I'm starting again. I have this behind me, but this other, my profession, that's really my foundation for everything. But it's scary because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not 40. I'm much older. I only have so much time, but I'm going to give it all I've got. But what I worry about, am I going to have enough money to pay the bills? Of course. Is my book going to get out there enough? Am I going to get my message out there? Am I going to have the opportunity to get in the world of speaking in a way that I would like, in a way that I can do it and have impact? But I don't think too much about it because I think that will weigh me down. I have to be conscious of it. I have to be aware, but I really try to overcome that and say, just keep going, do what you're doing, trust that your diligence and tenacity will pay off.
And that's a good point there. Yeah, to be conscious, but still keep going. Because that's probably one of the places I think a lot of people, and myself included, in that where we will stumble is, we're conscious of it, but then we might dwell on it. And it's, that's really the point where we need to be deliberate and, tell ourselves, okay, I cannot afford to dwell on this and just sort of move past it and, go to the next step.
Yes. You have to practice. I have to practice what I preach is getting unstuck.
So do you believe it's important for people to create business plans and other key strategies for themselves in their business, just from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a formal business plan. I probably should. I certainly know how to develop one, but I have a CRM I use on a daily basis to keep me on track, and I have my goals of what I need to attend to. Ideally, yes, probably a general business plan, but mine's more informal.
Okay. And what do you think the most common reasons are that business owners are giving up or failing nowadays?
I think it's about that tenacity, that ability to keep going. What I say in my book, I use the example of Sisyphus, that ancient Greek myth where he was condemned to roll the ball up and it would roll back in perpetuity. And obviously it was a Greek myth and it's not true, but sometimes we feel like Sisyphus. And what I often say is sometimes you have to change the direction of the ball. Maybe that didn't get it over the hill, but some other direction. But if you really believe that you're capable, I really do believe it's tenacity. And as the great Napoleon Hill stated, sometimes, and I'm paraphrasing, but their greatest failure is right before their greatest success. And I think that there's some truth to that. Again, you don't want to be a Pollyanna, and if you think that you have to try another route. But if you really, really believe and you really are diligent, you can do it. People look at the adversity so many people have come against, and then they rise above what people think of the ashes, and there they are, and they keep going.
That's true. That's very true. So would you perhaps be able to mention a few roadblocks that you've discovered that you would warn new entrepreneurs about, that would kind of give them a heads up on, and